Hello Alta Labs fans, Jeff Hansen here, and today we are going to do a video on our brand new floor planner tool. This tool will allow you to upload either a PDF or a PNG file and take that, and in the case of a PDF you can automatically draw walls, and then you take access points and you place them on your floor plan, and you can get an idea of what the RF propagation is going to look like before you actually install. So to use this tool, usually you'll start off with a new site. This site is brand new already, so I'm not going to create a new site. But yeah, usually you start off with a new site, then you go down here and you go to the floor planner. You can give it a name, and we do support multiple floors, but the RF propagation won't be calculated between them, but you can upload multiple pages from a PDF, for example, to do design for a multi-story building. So I'm going to go ahead and select our basic floor plan here. As long as the PDF looks good, it gets imported into here. And so you'll see that this PDF has various colors on it. If I hover over it, you can see that it actually has layers. And that's what makes our tool really cool, is you can actually select that layer and automatically import that layer and turn it into walls without having to manually draw them. So first off, I'm going to give you a quick tour of the tool. We have our menu up here. So here's where you can upload new floors. So if you want to do a multi-floor plan, you just hit new floor, and it basically allows you to name that floor and upload a different PDF or a different page from the PDF for that floor. You can edit your current floor, give it a different name. You can upload a different PDF. You can add devices to your plan, so we're going to use this later on. You can select whether or not to import walls automatically or just manually draw walls. We have a bunch of display options, so you can choose whether or not to show the Wi-Fi RF propagation or whether to do 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz. Obviously, when we have 6 gigahertz APs, we'll also support 6 gigahertz here. You can show various device information. By default, these aren't selected, but if you want to hover over an AP and see some information about it, that can be shown. And then the product list, if you have added products to your plan, they will show up here, and you can go ahead and email that product list to yourself and then forward it on to a distributor for an order. Lastly, there's this controls legend. And so if you want to see what controls there are, you can use Command and Wheel Up if you're on a Mac. If you're on a PC, you would use Control. To pan around, you use the space bar and then drag your mouse. And you can also undo and redo. So this is just a legend to tell you what keys you can use. To actually do those commands, you would click on these arrows here, these buttons here, to zoom in, to zoom out, and to undo and redo. You can also select the spectrum that's viewed right here, down here. As you're hovering over, and we'll show you in a minute once we have APs placed, this is a legend that shows you how strong the signal strength is where your mouse is. And then if you want to set the scale, you just come over here. So what it did when I first imported this PDF is it guided me to set the scale. This is really important for figuring out RF propagation because of the way that path loss works with RF propagation. You need to know how big something is. So that you know how quickly it dissipates over the floor plan. I happen to know that on this specific floor plan, I get the best results with the automatic wall drawing if I set it to 25 feet for this specific room. So now I'm going to go ahead and select the wall layer that I want to import. And I happen to know that it's called AA wall. You can choose the thickness of the material, and so what this will do is it'll set the thickness to 0.5 on every wall that's automatically imported through this process. You can also see what the attenuation is based on the material that you've selected. So say for example I change the wall thickness to 1/4 of a foot, you'll notice that everything drops in half. So by default though, the default wall thickness is 1/2 foot, and you'll see that with that, concrete is attenuated by at 2.4 gigahertz by 10 decibels as you go through it, and by 20 if you go through it at 5 gigahertz. So I happen to know that in this floor plan all of the walls are concrete, so I'm going to go ahead and import the walls as concrete. Now, the auto wall importer usually works pretty well. Sometimes you have to tune the scale, sometimes you have to do it a few times, but once you've got it and you have it close enough, you can manually go in and add some walls as well. And so we're going to do that with just a couple things here, a couple touch-ups, and add a wall here, and up here. So just a few minor things that I missed. And by the way, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is mostly for design purposes. After you've done a design and actually installed everything, you definitely want to go through and do a site survey and make sure that your survey matches your plan. And then add additional APs if necessary, or remove, just depending on the signal strength that you have everywhere based on your survey. So this looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the walls here. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some devices. So if this is an existing site, it will actually list current devices down here if there are access points on the site. I don't have any right now, and so it's not listing them. But if this were an existing site and you wanted to do a plan after it's already been installed, you can do that as well. And you would just drag the devices from here onto your floor plan. If you're doing something from scratch, you just go ahead and select what models of APs you want to install. And you can see there that, and you can drag it around and kind of get an idea of what the propagation is going to look like. So maybe to maximize, we're going to place it there. And you just keep adding APs as necessary to get rid of all the dead zones. So I'm just going to drag and add a bunch of AP6 Pros here. And let's try to get all of the interiors covered. So after you've added an access point, if you select an access point, it will show you the RF propagation just for that access point. If you select off of an access point, it shows you the propagation for everything. So it looks like we have this closet right here that might need a little bit more propagation. If you want, you can add one more AP here just to cover that as well. And that gets us pretty well covered for the whole property. But yeah, this is an easy way to see if we're covered. There's a few options here. So if you want to rotate, for example, if you want to wall mount an access point instead of ceiling mount it, you can do that. And you can tell, that this back side would be the side that has less RF, and that would be the side that you would mount to the wall right there. You can also rotate it. So if you want it on a wall, this wall here in particular, you can do that as well. We also have all of our different models. So the AP6 Pro Outdoor, the AP6W, and AP6, we have patterns for those as well. So you'll see here, this is an on-wall AP, and we're going to go ahead and put it on this wall over here. So once you feel good about the RF propagation and the coverage, if you'll notice, you can move the mouse cursor anywhere into the floor plan, and you can see what a difference the concrete wall makes. So for example, if you look at this, if you look at the bottom right while I'm hovering my mouse, you can see that the signal gets weaker and weaker. And then as I cross across this concrete wall, you'll see that it dips 15 dB or so. That's because it's combined with other signals. But yeah, I mean, the concrete wall is going to deteriorate that signal about 20 dB just from a single access point. We have other access points that are contributing to the penetration of this wall as well. But if you look at just this one, you'll see that we have minus 38 before the wall and minus 58 afterwards. Yeah, so this gives you an idea of what the RF signal is going to look like throughout your property. Once you have everything finalized, you can go ahead and send an email to yourself. Let's do a few other things. So if you want to go ahead and make a name for all of your access points, you can edit this. You can say this one's in the kitchen. And by default, it will set the powers to the maximum power. So for 2.4 gigahertz on the AP6 Pro, that would be 23. For 5 gigahertz, that would be 26 dBm. And this is at the antenna port, so that's before the antenna. So you can give it a name. And if you plan on adjusting the transmit power, this would be the time where you would go in and edit that. So if you plan on doing lower power like 20 dBm or something like that, this is where you go in and edit that. And you can see right here that it's been modified and the propagation is a little bit less than it was before. All right, so once you're happy with that, you can go to your products. You can see all the products that are named. A lot of times you'll want to throw in an extra access point or two, so just in case, so you can actually add additional ones here. And when you're done, when you're happy with the bill of materials or list of products that you want to install at the site, you can say send order, and it will send this to the email of the person who's currently logged in. So you'll see that it sent it to my jeffhansen.com account, and so I can go ahead and take that and send that to my distributor for an order. And that about covers it. We are still continuing to work on this product, on this feature, just as we are with everything else. We have a PDF export feature, which looks really nice, and that can be forwarded to your customers for installation. We also have the ability to rotate PDFs in here that's coming soon. So a lot more features coming, but this covers the basics of how to use this. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to ask them on our forum at forum.alta.inc, or you can call our support for any other help that you need. But thanks a lot for being Alta Labs fans, and enjoy the rest of your day.